The story of D.B. Cooper begins like something out of a Hollywood thriller. It was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, 1971. Dan Cooper boarded Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 in Portland, Oregon. He was dressed in a business suit with a black tie and a briefcase. Cooper appeared calm and unremarkable. After takeoff, Cooper passed a note to a flight attendant. It claimed he had a bomb in his briefcase. Cooper's demands were simple: $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a refueling truck. Throughout the ordeal, D.B. Cooper maintained an air of composure. Some witnesses described him as polite, even ordering a bourbon and soda during the hijacking. He spoke calmly and clearly, never raising his voice, yet his instructions were firm, leaving no room for doubt. The more the authorities learned about him, the more enigmatic he became. The name Dan Cooper itself was likely an alias, adopted from a popular Belgian comic book hero, further shrouding his true identity in mystery. Adding to the intrigue, Cooper seemed to possess a peculiar knowledge of aviation. He specifically requested civilian parachutes, refusing military-grade ones offered by authorities. He was also specific about the refueling process, instructing the crew on how to approach the refueling truck. This detail suggested a familiarity with airplanes and flight procedures, leading some to speculate about a possible military background or experience in aviation. As the hours ticked by, the FBI managed to secure the ransom money and parachutes. Cooper, true to his word, allowed the passengers and some of the crew to disembark in Seattle in exchange for the fulfillment of his demands. However, he kept the pilot, co-pilot, and flight engineer on board, along with a flight attendant who volunteered to stay. With his hostages and demands met, Cooper directed the pilots to set course for Mexico City, flying at a low altitude and a slow speed, a perilous combination for a commercial airliner. The atmosphere inside the hijacked Boeing 727 was tense. Cooper, holding the lives of the remaining crew in his hands, remained in control. He laid out specific instructions for the pilots, dictating altitude, speed, and even the angle of the aircraft's flaps. Outside, the FBI, tracking the plane's every move, scrambled 2 F-106 fighter jets to follow from a distance. Their mission: observe Cooper but avoid direct contact as per his orders. The flight path took them over the vast rugged terrain of the Pacific Northwest. Cooper, studying maps provided to him, seemed to be meticulously plotting his next move. He instructed the crew to maintain a low altitude, likely to evade radar detection, and to keep the cabin unpressurized, a crucial detail that would later become significant in the investigation. The pilots, caught between Cooper's commands and their own training, carefully followed his instructions, all the while trying to glean any information that might help authorities. As dusk settled and the landscape below disappeared into darkness, the tension inside the cockpit reached its peak. Cooper, after hours of maintaining a calm demeanor, began making preparations. He directed the crew to the cockpit, ordering them to remain there. He then donned one of the parachutes, strapped the ransom money to himself, and approached the rear air stair of the aircraft. The crew, listening intently from the cockpit, could hear the hiss of the aft stairs deploying, a sound that signaled Cooper's imminent departure. At approximately 8:13 p.m., somewhere over the wilderness of southwest Washington state, D.B. Cooper jumped. The plane, momentarily destabilized by the change in pressure, shuddered as the hijacker disappeared into the night. The crew, shaken but unharmed, managed to regain control of the aircraft and landed safely in Reno, Nevada, several hours later. The passengers and the released crew members, upon deplaning, were met with a mix of relief and disbelief, their lives forever marked by the events of that fateful flight. The FBI, despite their best efforts, had lost their man. D.B. Cooper, it seemed, had vanished into thin air. The massive manhunt that ensued was one of the largest in United States history. Hundreds of agents scoured the suspected drop zone, a vast and unforgiving wilderness area. They were joined by local law enforcement, National Guard troops, and even volunteers, all driven by the same goal: to find D.B. Cooper and bring him to justice. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but the search yielded little. The terrain was treacherous, the weather unpredictable, and the trail, if there ever was one, had gone cold. Investigators meticulously followed every lead, from reported sightings to possible parachute landings, but each one led to a dead end. The lack of concrete evidence only fueled the mystery, turning D.B. Cooper into a phantom, a ghost story whispered in the corridors of law enforcement. Years later in 1980, a young boy named Brian Ingram stumbled upon a curious discovery while playing along the banks of the Columbia River. Partially buried in the sand, he found 3 bundles of decaying money. The bills, totaling $5,800, were later confirmed to be part of the ransom money given to D.B. Cooper. This discovery, while significant, only deepened the mystery. How did the money end up there? Was it a sign that Cooper had perished in the river? Or was it a deliberate red herring, planted to mislead investigators? The discovery of the money sparked renewed interest in the case. Theories abounded, each trying to explain its presence on the riverbank. Some speculated that Cooper, injured or disoriented after his jump, had stashed the money, intending to retrieve it later. Others suggested that the money had been carried downstream from the original drop zone, possibly by flooding or erosion. The money, meant to solve the mystery, had instead become another piece of the puzzle, adding to the enigma of D.B. Cooper. In the absence of concrete evidence, speculation filled the void. Theories about D.B. Cooper's true identity and fate ran rampant, ranging from the plausible to the outlandish. Some believed he was a seasoned skydiver, his knowledge of parachutes and aviation suggesting a background in the military or a related field. Others, pointing to his calm demeanor and meticulous planning, theorized he was a former paratrooper, perhaps even a veteran of the Vietnam War, his skills honed in the crucible of combat. Then there were the more unconventional theories. Some whispered that Cooper was a master criminal, his daring heist the work of a meticulous planner who had thought of every detail. Others, captivated by the mystery, proposed more fantastical explanations. A secret agent on a clandestine mission gone wrong, a desperate gambler seeking to erase his debts, or even a thrill seeker who had pulled off the ultimate stunt. Over the years, the FBI painstakingly investigated hundreds of suspects, each claiming to be or to know the real D.B. Cooper. They chased down tips, analyzed forensic evidence, and even used facial recognition technology, but none of these leads panned out. The lack of a conclusive match only added to the allure of the case, turning D.B. Cooper into a modern-day Robin Hood for some, a folk hero who had outwitted the authorities and disappeared with a small fortune. Despite the passage of time, the mystery of D.B. Cooper continues to fascinate and intrigue. It has spawned countless books, documentaries, and even a Hollywood movie, each offering its own interpretation of events. The case, officially closed by the FBI in 2017, remains a testament to the enduring power of unsolved mysteries. D.B. Cooper, the man who hijacked a plane and vanished into the night, has become a legend, his story a cautionary tale of audacity, mystery, and the elusive nature of truth. The enduring fascination with D.B. Cooper can be attributed to several factors. The brazen nature of the crime, committed in broad daylight, or rather broad twilight, during a time when air travel was still considered relatively safe and glamorous, captured the public's imagination. The fact that he acted alone, without harming any of the passengers or crew, further fueled his image as a daring rogue rather than a ruthless criminal. Moreover, the lack of a conclusive answer, the absence of a body, and the tantalizing clues that surfaced over the years have kept the case alive in the public consciousness. The mystery of D.B. Cooper has become a cultural phenomenon, a shared puzzle that people continue to piece together, debating theories and speculating on his ultimate fate. Did D.B. Cooper survive the jump? Or did he perish in the wilderness, his body lost to the elements? These questions have haunted investigators and amateur sleuths for decades. The treacherous terrain, the darkness of the night, and the lack of concrete evidence make it impossible to say for sure what became of him. Some believe that Cooper, with his knowledge of parachutes and aviation, managed to land safely and escape with the ransom money. They point to the possibility that he had an accomplice on the ground waiting to whisk him away to a life on the run. Others, more skeptical of his survival, argue that the odds were stacked against him. The jump was risky, the terrain unforgiving, and the chances of surviving such a daring escape slim. The story of D.B. Cooper continues to captivate us, a reminder that some mysteries may never be fully solved. Despite the passage of time, the allure of the unknown remains strong. Will we ever know the true identity of D.B. Cooper? Will his remains be found, finally revealing his fate? Or will he forever remain an enigma, a ghost in the machine of American history? Perhaps, someday, a new piece of evidence will surface, a clue overlooked or a witness coming forward with a missing piece of the puzzle. Until then, the legend of D.B. Cooper will live on, a testament to the enduring power of mystery and the human desire to find answers, even in the face of the unknown.